Robert Quinn mocked the belt yet again. Buddy, it's just not working out for you. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. I got to see Kurt Benkert kneel it down, and when I realized it was him, this is what happened. Rodgers on the sideline. It's Kurt Benkert! It's Kurt! It's Kurt! It's Benkert! Let's go! It's Kurt Benkert! That's my boy! That's my boy! Grossi, and today we're going to be breaking down the Green Bay Packers' victory over the Chicago Bears, 45-30. Before we get to that, I want to do a big shout and thank you to a brand new patron and YouTube member. First, on the Patreon side of things, we have Joshua Huffman up into the $54 tier. Very much appreciated to you. And over on the YouTube side of things, we have Bradley Johnson. A big shout and thank you to the both of you. So the Green Bay Packers taking on the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. As Carrie Underwood would say, I was waiting all day for Sunday night. And in the beginning of this game, this was the Bears football game. Robert Quinn mocking the belt. Aaron Rodgers getting sacked multiple times and putting up points. The Chicago Bears offense was moving. They were doing trick plays. You got frackin' Hakeem Grant, who's running all over the place. And I was like, oh, this Bears team, they came to play. And then the rest of the game happened. Because while the Packers allowed all of those points in the first half, they only allowed 3 points in the entirety of the second half. Oh, and while they were shut out in the first quarter, they then scored 21, 17, and 7. And I think that, as I have talked about week after week after week, the Packers have shown their resiliency this season. This is a battle-tested team. And right now, I love just about everything about them, except the special teams, which we'll talk about, but that needs to, originally I said, get fired into the sun. Nay. They need to leave the Milky Way. But let's break down some stats here. Aaron Rodgers, 29 for 37, 341 yards, 4 touchdowns, was sacked 3 times, a lot early on, but the offensive line was able to adjust. However, the big loss coming from Billy Turner, who had a horrific knee injury. There was no update from Matt LaFleur in his press conference, but considering all the people that we have lost along the offensive line, Dave Bakhtiari still not back, Elton Jenkins out for the season, Josh Myers, who knows if he's even going to come back, and now you have Billy Turner out. It's difficult to kind of just keep saying that next man up mentality when there's only so many guys to actually play. But Rodgers having himself a nice game. A.J. Dillon, 15 for 71. Aaron Jones, 5 for 35 on the ground with a touchdown, 3 for 30 through the air with 1 touchdown. Devontae Adams, 10 receptions, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is now tied for second all-time in Packers receiving touchdowns, tied with Jordy Nelson at 69 touchdowns. Nice. And Allen Lazard had himself a fantastic game on offense, 6 for 75 yards and 1 touchdown. The defense, we continue to sing the praises of Devondre Campbell for 16 tackles tonight. This guy, we're paying him $2 million, folks. $2 million. One of the best guys on the field. Preston Smith, 2 sacks tonight, had a tackle for a loss and a forced fumble. He's had 5 sacks in his last 4 games. He even got a $500,000 bonus because of the amount of sacks that he's gotten this year. Preston Smith, who really didn't have a great season last year, has really stepped up his game. Rasul Douglas. I feel like Rasul Douglas, we talk about, there's some plays he had a pass interference call on him. He let up that play to OBJ that ended in a touchdown. But My man has had back-to-back pick sixes tonight. 2 passes defended, 1 interception tonight, which went to the house, a pick six. He had one against the Rams. He is only the 2nd player in Packers history to have back-to-back games with pick sixes. And Rasul Douglas, a guy that we lifted off the practice squad, has been filling in phenomenally in that secondary. Chandon Sullivan was able to get an interception himself as well. But let's talk about the bad part. Let's talk about the special teams. Awful. And I mean awful in every sense of the word. The only 2 players who were good on special team was Corey Bojorquez, our punter, who had a 42.8 average per kick. On top of that, Mason Crosby, perfect on the night, 1 for 1 with field goals, 6 for 6 on extra points. Everything else, horrific. Talk about the special teams coverage. What? We allowed the first punt return for a TD this season. That's a great stat. Horrific coverage. We were constantly putting the Bears in great field position. On top of that, we had a kick that went out of bounds on the kickoff. That was pretty damn terrible. On top of that, Amari Rodgers muffed the punt again. And this is something with Amari Rodgers. We drafted him in the 3rd round. I think the kid has a lot of potential. He looked pretty good in camp, but he's obviously not the guy to be returning kicks, and we need to take him out of there. And I mean this. Stop putting people back there. I don't care if the ball starts on the 5-yard line every single fracking play. Because you know what? While that's bad, you know what's worse? Fumbling the ball. And the special teams for me is infuriating because not only did it keep the Bears in the game, but this is the kind of stuff that will cost us games later on in the season and in the postseason. So this needs to get fixed immediately, whether it's a coaching change or whether it's a personnel change or whether it's just, hey, we don't have special teams anymore. We're just going to align guys up and they're going to rush the kicker. And, if they make it, cool. If not, then I guess we're starting back late. But the special teams was really infuriating tonight, and I really hope that gets fixed. I know the Packers usually suck coming off a bye, but the offense, while it struggled in the first quarter, they picked it up for the rest of the game. Same with the defense. It's the special teams that never really got it together here. Because even late in the game, on an onside kick recovery, they couldn't get that done, and it allowed the Bears another opportunity at the ball, and they were able to score the only 3 points of the half because of that. You do that against good teams, they're going to score more than 3. Taking a look at the Bears, Justin Fields, 18 for 33, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, was their leading rusher, 9 carries for 74 yards. He was sacked twice. You had Montgomery, 10 for 42, also 6 for 39 through the air. And Justin Fields, I will say this about him, coming off a rib injury, rookie guy, he looked pretty good tonight. He looked like a raw talent, but I said this when the Bears drafted Justin Fields. He absolutely has all, and I mean all, the potential in the world. It's just a matter of, are the Bears going to ruin him? He shouldn't be your leading rusher. Bird, 2 for 76, 1 touchdown. Hakeem Grant, 1 for 46, 1 touchdown. Also had that punt return for a touchdown. And the Bears had it going on in the first half, scored 27 points. And then their offense completely got shut down, and the momentum completely swung the other direction for the Green Bay Packers. And while it is 100% frustrating to see that as a Packers fan, because it seems that we've had just slow starts every single week, again, I point to the resiliency. And while the special teams was garbage, the Packers offense and the defense, they got rocking and rolling from the second quarter on, and they never really let the Bears back in the game. So where does this leave us? Matt LaFleur is undefeated against the Chicago Bears. We have swept them this year, and we're in great position. And so right now we're 10-3. We're chilling near the top of the NFC. We need the Cardinals to lose at least one other game going forward. We're playing the Ravens next week, who Lamar Jackson, he had an ankle sprain this week, so who knows if he's even going to play. But the Packers have it all in front of them right now. They need to rely on some team beating the Cardinals, and they can be the number one team in the NFC. And while I know for a lot of fans there were a lot of frustrating things tonight, I think there was still a lot of good to come out of this. They were able to go against a divisional opponent, which, as we know, there are no guarantees, and able to get the win, scoring 45 points on the Bears defense. And on top of that, Kurt Benkert got to end the game, which I am so incredibly proud of him. I'm so happy for him. And that was definitely a highlight of the night. So the Packers, moving on. We'll see what they have next week against the Baltimore Ravens, which will be an away game. After next week's away game, they only have one more, which will be the final week against the Lions, because the rest of those games are at home. So let's see how they finish out these last 4 games in the season. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. How'd you feel about this game? Let me know. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.